Okay, Unit 10 is about polynomials. We've already defined terms. We've talked a lot about terms. Polynomials, basically poly means many, and nomial means terms. So it's when you have a sum of multiple terms. The best way really to show you what it is by giving you some examples. So first of all, I want to talk about when we describe the degree of a polynomial, what that means. The degree of a term is the exponent of the variable. So linear would be first degree, quadratic is second degree, cubic is third degree. This is all just vocabulary. This would be a first degree polynomial. And let me show you some examples. So a first degree polynomial would be something like this. 5x minus 3. Okay, so see the x, the variable, does not have an exponent, so it's assumed it is 1. So first degree would be linear. And again, this is just vocabulary. Quadratic would be your second degree. No, a little confusing because quad usually means 4, but in this case, a second degree, and we've looked at some of these, they make parabolas. So for example, x squared plus 2x minus 7. That would be a quadratic polynomial because look at the largest exponent. It's 2. Cubic. That would be a third degree polynomial. So an example would be x to the third power. And you don't have to have all the other terms. For example, I could have minus 4x squared, and that would be it. Okay? It's still a cubic polynomial because the largest exponent is 3. A fourth degree polynomial. Okay, before I show you that, I'm going to point out something. I have written all of these so far in standard form. I'm going to do the next one not in standard form so you can see what the difference is. Standard form is when you have your highest degree first. So here my highest degree is a 2. The 1 came second. Here my highest degree is 3. And then I went down second. Let me show you an example of one that would not be in standard form. X plus x to the fourth minus x cubed plus 6. That would be an example of a polynomial that is not in standard form. So this would be not standard form. But it's still fourth degree because the largest exponent is still 4. Okay, so it doesn't have to be the first exponent, it's the largest exponent. Quintic would be your fifth degree. And really everything after quintic you just say the ordinal number, 6th degree, 7th degree, 8th degree, 9th degree. Okay, we don't have vocabulary beyond that. The most common ones really that you're going to hear are the first 3. Linear is an exponent of 1. We know that that makes a line. We've spent a lot of time looking at linear equations. Quadratics, we've looked at some quadratic equations. They make parabolas. Okay, and cubics, they have a couple terms in them. You'll study those more in Algebra 2. Okay, so that's one way you can classify a polynomial by its degree, and you just have to know this vocabulary. We can also talk about a polynomial by how many terms it has. So a monomial term would have 1 term. So an example of that would be, 7x. That's a monomial term. Okay, there's only 1 term. It's a variable term. And this could be a variable term or a constant term. It doesn't matter. Okay, binomial. An example would be 2 terms. if the definition is two terms, an example would be x squared minus 9. That would be an example of a binomial. There are two terms. So see, terms are separated by plus and minus. This one has a variable term and a constant term. Okay, trinomial, you probably guessed that that's 3 terms. And an example for a trinomial would be x squared plus 3x minus 5. That would be a trinomial. There are 3 terms. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so let me show you one example of what you might see in the first couple pages of Unit 10. Okay, you might be asked to name or classify a polynomial by its degree and number of terms. So I gave you one example here. Okay, degree, remember that's going to be your largest exponent. And in this case, I only have one exponent. So, and it's a 3. So because it's a 3, this is a cubic. Or you could say third degree. Alright, second part is number of terms. Well, I've got 1, 2 terms. So this is a binomial. So this is a cubic or third degree binomial. So this first lesson was really just some basic vocabulary that you need to understand what we're talking about when we talk about polynomials, the degree and the number of terms. Also knowing what standard form looks like, largest degree to smallest degree. And one other thing I didn't mention, but most of these have a leading coefficient of 1, but when you have it in standard form, the leading coefficient is the coefficient of the largest degree. So leading coefficient here would be 5. The leading coefficient here would be 1. You don't see a number in front, so it's a 1. Leading coefficient here would be a 1. For this one, remember, it wasn't in standard form, so I had to go find the largest degree, which was the 4th degree. It still has a leading coefficient of 1. So that's another thing that you might hear in Unit 10. Okay, try pages 1 and 2 and check your answers before going to the next part.